another episode of Mind
Body Stuff.
I'm Kaylee.
I'm Bernice.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just going to talk for a moment about last week's podcast about the news and our ability to handle the news, how it can either be destructive or it can be awakening, enlightening. You guys had amazing feedback for us. It's interesting because the way that we film these podcasts is the way that we do much of everything around here, which is really organically. And so when we sit down to record a podcast, we don't have notes, we don't really have an outline, we just kind of sit down and free flow our thoughts. Now, the scary thing of that is when your thoughts are recorded and then put out onto the internet, it's kind of like, these are my thoughts on the subject.
Right, yeah, it kind of gets frozen
It kind of gets frozen in time, although
right.
Really it's just kind of an exploration of how we're feeling in the moment.
Yes.
So I think a lot of you guys brought up some really good points for me to think about, and my thoughts on our podcast last week have really kind of expanded, and I've taken a really good look. I've modified the different news stations that I allow to show up on my news app on my phone, and that's been helpful. I've also thought a lot about what you said about just kind of shining the light on people's stories, and I don't know. I think one of the things that makes me most frustrated when people just completely disengage from the news is that they think that their life is more important than the collective life. And that's that bothers me. That bothers me when people are like, no, I'm not willing to take a look at any of this, or just kind of stay in their own little world. So I think I'm constantly finding that balance of protecting my energy, but also being aware, being caring, being informed, being action oriented in ways that I actually can do something. And I think it's all of our responsibility to take care of one another, Oh
yeah. And I think that's such a good point in terms of we are privileged. Someone had wrote that in one of their comments. So we have the privilege of turning off or not knowing sometimes if we feel overwhelmed. News, different types of news, and of course sometimes we just have to recognize that we are lucky that we have that ability to be to have space for ourselves.
Yes. And also somebody then posted on their personal page, who I'm friends with, she said, it's a lot easier just to turn a blind eye on this stuff. She's like, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to bring awareness. I'm going to bring awareness to my family, to anyone who's on my page. I'm going to ask you guys also to donate to this cause. And I thought that's such a perfect way to describe it. Of course it's easier to turn a blind eye. Of course it's easier to just shut out everybody else's pain and kind of shelter ourselves. But I really appreciated that perspective of just It's easier. It's easier to not care about other people. Absolutely. But we must continue to care for one another.
Yes.
It's really important. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
Well, and I love that you changed your feed. We have the ability to change our feed, and my feed is really, I don't get a lot of stuff about my dog was trapped in a well for 3 hours, or which is fine, but but I do get those big news cycle pieces, which I appreciate, and I think it's important for us to recognize what we want in our social media and what information we want to get in, and that we can be in control of that in some way. And that we do have to take care of ourselves.
Totally.
I mean, that's very important. And that kind of takes us into the topic for this week.
Yeah, and in class, as you've probably noticed, and if you've read the blog that I posted a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago now about the different elements and the cycle of an ULA class, and how I'm just going to talk about the fire and the air for a moment, because that's what this is really talking about. The second half of the class, we move into the big fire section. So that's, a lot of the songs have the title fire, or the word fire in the title. And and then after we have those really fiery songs, Lash Out, The Fire, Flames, those types of songs, then we move into the air, the love, the heart, all of those songs. And we've got such great heart songs at the end of our playlist right now. And as we were transitioning from the power to the air section, I just kind of wanted to honor Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, who both took their own lives this week, and just talking about these just absolutely talented artists, and just how tragic it is that they felt like they couldn't get out of where they were at. They felt like there wasn't that light, that air after the fire, the intensity of whatever it was that they were feeling and experiencing. And so I just asked everyone, the next song that came on was Heads Up. And I just asked everyone to dance from their hearts and to give that heart energy and to send it to people who are feeling like they can't get out. They can't get out of wherever they're feeling stuck. And going back to this news, we're privileged. Anyone who can come and dance at 9:30 in the morning on a Friday and use their body and use their voice and dance, like, that's privilege.
Oh my goodness.
And
yes.
so part of our responsibility, again, in taking care of one another is, can we dance for other people? Can we send this good magical juju that we create together? Can we send that out into the world? Can we focus that towards those who need it? And that just kind of ties into that privilege, and it also ties into what we're talking about.
The power of positive psychic energy too. That there is energy obviously all around us, and they've done research, as we talked about before, about that, and that we have the power to share that, not just with ourselves, but with each other and with the community at large, or with whoever might need it. Mm-hmm. And that is so well said. And I'm so glad that you did that today in class. I've been feeling very discombobulated the last few days. I have a kid finishing 5th grade. Of course, everyone's like, well, whatever. I don't know why it's a big deal. It is my last kid, so I've had quite a few kids. This is my 5th kid. And so with that many kids, I think you get to the point where you're like, it's never going to happen. You just do it and do it and do it and do it. You don't really bring your head up, I don't think.
Sure.
And suddenly my head's up. Heads up.
Heads up.
Heads up. I'm like, whoa. This is my last day with an elementary school kid.
Right.
And so I've been feeling kind of discombobulated about that and how to wrap my head around that. And my husband's been working a lot, so I've been doing a lot of stuff on my own. And today in class, the class that Kaylee's talking about, we had that kind of light at the end, and we were dancing Have It All, that last song that we have right now on our playlist. And I looked over at one of our participants, Amy. Hi, Amy. And she looked right at me, and we were singing the words at the same time. Then she grabbed her heart, and then I grabbed my heart. And for that moment, I was like, I'm going to make it. I can make it through this week. And I really appreciate that, Amy. And I appreciate that we have this opportunity to rise up and feel better, or just process what's happening in our lives, because I feel like my life tends to get out of balance quite often because I have a lot of weird energy that I push in different directions, sort of a ADD type person that way. And so it's nice when I have class and I can just settle into the moment in sort of a meditative grace and let the community speak to me, and for me to speak to the community and help me rise up and help me find that little bit of balance for myself.
Yeah.
Because I do feel, I want to talk about the topic of balance in our lives, particularly in my life. I said something like, how do I find balance in an imbalanced life? Mm-hmm. Because it's, I do so many different things that it's hard, and I do that on purpose because I get bored easy. Mm-hmm. But it's sometimes it just gets totally out of whack.
Right. And
you just sense that. I don't know if that happens to you sometimes too, where you sense things are kind of like, whoa, what's happening? Kind of out of whack here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like your life is very, it experiences huge shifts because of the nature of Mike's work. And so you go from having him around a lot in the winter to then poof, this time of year comes around and he's just gone. And so you're single parenting and you don't have your partner there, and you feel like a lot of this responsibility falls on you, but also you miss your person.
Yeah, that's true.
And
like my anchor. Oh, and
anchor.
I'm
he's totally your anchor.
We've talked about this before. I'm lacking my what's it called?
Your root chakra.
My root chakra is bad.
Imbalance.
Yeah,
it's a crummy
chakra for me.
But Mike is he's an anchor point for you.
Yeah,
and he lets you kind of flit and fleet all over, which you do. I mean, you're always buzzing around and you've got all this energy, but he's your anchor person. And so when he's gone, I think it's really hard for you to ground.
Yes.
And then you start to like spin out a little bit because you don't have that, like, and he loves you for who you are and how you react, and you love him. You guys balance each other so well. So I think when he's gone, you don't have that like stabilizer to come home to every night. You don't have that like that kind of like, okay, now I'm going to drop back into my sense of home, belonging, safety, security. And then tomorrow I'm going to go run a million errands and I'm going to do this. Like, you guys have no idea how many errands this woman can run in like the shortest amount of time. She's like, you do this, and then I'll see you in about 45 minutes. I'm like, no, you won't. But she does somehow. So there is a part of you that obviously likes that, but you do need to ground.
Yeah,
and when he's not around, it's harder for you, and then you start to
spin out of control a little bit. Yeah, and I don't know if any of you guys feel that too, where there's times where for me it's cyclical for sure because of the nature of his work as a raft company owner.
Right.
And I don't know, some people love that seasonal work, you know, where you're off and then you're on, and then you're off and then you're on. But I don't know, how you guys experience it in your lives, out there.
I think a lot of people, I think this time of year is even though we're all excited for summer, I think it's really, it is kind of disruptive in a way. And I think a lot of people, I just kind of caught the tail end of a conversation you were having after class. But the woman that you were talking to was saying how she's like, I don't even have kids, I'm, all this stuff, but I'm feeling this like transition. But it's like, you guys have to remember that we still are part of a collective energy. So even if things aren't directly affecting our own personal lives, we still are feeling the collective energy, and the collective energy is transitioning right now into summertime. We have so many participants who are like, I can't come to class for the summer because I have my kids, and like it's there's just all of these changes.
It's a shift. Yeah, a shift. And also the increased sunlight.
Yeah.
For me, I get kind of manic. I'm like, wow, it's light forever.
Think of all the things I can do.
I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do this, and I can do that. And it's like, I almost feel myself kind of like, like wiring up. And then I love in the winter, even though I don't love the transition, because I have trouble with transition.
You have a hard time with winter, too.
I have a hard time with that.
Every single year, you guys, she thinks, maybe it won't happen this year. Like, literally every single fall, she's like, maybe it just won't get cold this year.
I kind of believe it, too, every year.
You totally believe it.
I feel like if I
magic
think
in your
hard
eye
enough, it won't happen.
Yeah.
But it happens every year. Mm-hmm. But the beauty of winter, don't you guys think, at least for me anyway, is then I get sort of like, I do get very grounded. Everything kind of slows down. Mm-hmm. It's easier to kind of focus on one task at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it's all about that kind of quiet time, going in.
The days are shorter. We have more darkness. We experience more darkness. And I think that this ties also into the light and the dark, and how there's always this balance happening, but you go through the phases of intense light and you go through the phases of intense darkness. But what we always need to remember is that neither of those last forever.
Right.
Especially where we live in Montana. I think we experience it drastically. I mean, we're not like on the equator where it's pretty much all the same. Like where we live, it's very defined transitions and changes. And we experience this cyclical nature so powerfully. And we can't, it's crazy to think that we wouldn't be affected by it.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know why I would think like, why? Because Kaylee brought this up the other day. She's like, of course you're affected by this. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, what? And even yesterday when I went to my kids' 5th grade, they had like a little picnic to honor them because they're going to go to a different middle school. And a bunch of the moms were walking around and the dads. And I heard everyone kind of talking like some people were trying not to cry, and you could just feel the energy in the air. So even if I was trying not to feel it, like, I don't want to feel it. Okay, I got other stuff to do. Plus I don't want to feel emotional. But you could just almost tangibly cut it with a knife. And you could look people in the eye, and then I'm like, uh-oh, she looks like she might be feeling it.
Yeah.
And it was just incredible to experience that. And I always... I don't always, but sometimes I downplay the power of the collective.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe for those feelers out there, you can feel it more strongly, but I think we all have the capacity. I think sometimes we just dull our senses out, we just dull them so that people are like, no, I'm not affected by that, or,
right.
But I think that when everyone is really energetically open, you feel it. You
pick
up on it.
That's right.
And you are that for sure. You're definitely energetically open to feeling what's happening around you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and not only in our personal lives, but we're talking about like work lives and relationships and I don't know. It's important to always seek that balance and to. Like we've talked about before, I feel like everything in nature is trying to find this equilibrium, this balance. And no matter our personality types or our desires or our goals, we always constantly have to check in with our own personal balance of where we're at with things.
Yeah. That is so important to always check in too, because sometimes you might just be feeling, you're not sure why you're feeling a certain way. But then if you take a moment or time to slowly say, okay, let's think about this. Why am I feeling this way right now?
Exactly.
And to sit with it and to realize like, oh, things might be slightly out of balance. And what is out of balance? To be willing to ask yourself, what is out of balance?
Yeah, ask yourself what's out of balance, and then are you willing to do what it takes to come back to that balance? Are you going to have to say no to some things? Are you going to have a difficult conversation? Are you going to have to change your schedule? What do you need to do to feel balanced? Because it's incredibly important to have the balance, to acknowledge and recognize the contrasts that are not only inside of you, but within relationships, in nature, everywhere around us. There are contrasts, and we need to constantly be seeking that balance. And there are times I think about, one of the things we were just talking about is like work balance. And man, when I was starting this business, even up to a few years ago, I was constantly working. Like I was constantly working if I'd go on vacation, I was like just constantly on my phone, like pulling out my computer. It was just nonstop on my brain.
Choreographing on a side street somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, just so focused on this business and on this, on this little baby that I was growing. And so I recognize also that there are times that balance just isn't possible too. But then maybe are you finding balance in can you compensate for if I have all of this time and energy, boom, 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 moving forward with ULA? Well, okay, I had to pull back on some of my other activities. I had to, really focus on like, okay, can I make time for self-care? Am I still making enough time for my relationship? Making sure that if I'm pushing so much in one direction, that I'm kind of balancing that out in other aspects of my life. And now, luckily, I'm fortunate enough to be in the position and to have ULA grown to the position where there are several full and part-time employees, and my workload has decreased, and now I'm able to have a better balance and relationship with work and a better balanced relationship with my husband and my children. And now I've got more space in my life for the other things that matter to me. But for a while I did have to just kind of put my head down and go. And it was hard. It was really hard, and my life was completely kind of lopsided for a while. But I almost think that in that time, it's what it took. I don't know. Maybe I could have had more balance, but I didn't. But now I have balance, and I think I was always like looking forward to the point that I could find a better relationship.
Right, and you kind of made that a goal.
I did make it a goal,
but because you started to see, you're like working, that it was such a big piece of your pie. The work part was so big that, and you were like, that's okay though, because I'm growing it. But I think in the back of your mind, you were aware. My goal though is to slowly decrease that a little bit.
Oh yeah, a lot. But Ula had to grow enough financially also that I could afford to hire
help.
Many people, not many, but there are
quite
several people who work for Ula now.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to, and I didn't raise any money and I didn't take out loans. Like it was pretty much blood, sweat, and tears for this business to just get to where it is. It's all been extremely organic in its process. And that took a lot of work.
A lot of work.
A lot of work. And and now I feel like I have a much healthier relationship and balance in my work life. And I think another thing that's important to just remember is sometimes, again, based in this capitalistic society that we live in, we have these ideas that like money and success and like all of these different things are what the goal is. And so people do like put their head down and forget about all these other important parts of their life because they feel like they've got to get to this place in order to be worthy or in order to be successful or in order to make an impact. But the thing is, then you look at these people like Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, you would look at them and from the outside you'd be like,
they have
a ton of money. You're at the top of your game. Literally, both of you are at the top of your game. You've checked off all the check marks. But you're not. I mean, but it wasn't what was.
It wasn't sustaining.
It wasn't sustaining. It wasn't
the soul or whatever it is. And of course, those of us that deal with depression and anxiety and battle that every day, it's a combination of factors that takes us sometimes over the edge and into suicide or considering suicide. But I do think one of the pieces is we do have to be aware for creative folks, for driven folks, for ambitious folks, whoever we are, that we have to be aware of, where are we heading? How much energy are we going to put into that? And are we happy?
Right. And so maybe they're a bad example because I do think that both of them had mental illness. But let's take maybe at the beginning of the Great Depression when the stock market crashed and how many of those businessmen jumped out the window.
Oh, yes.
So those I wouldn't say were necessarily mental illness. Those were, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose all my money. There's no point in my life.
How do I start again? Too? Like what will happen?
Well, and I can't be poor.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot more to it, but it's like, man, we're kind of taught in this country like drive.
And even for for men and women, I think for a while it was like mostly men are taught to be driven, But I feel like us women, we've gotten even more driven to get higher than the men. We have to be driven that much more. It's like I am unstoppable. You will not stop me. You won't get in my way. And yet sometimes that leads us to a point of like, whoa, my pie is so big in terms of my career that I've forgotten my family. I've forgotten maybe my spiritual growth. What am I doing spiritually for myself to feed my soul? What am I doing with relationships? So many of us make the mistake where we get driven and then we wake up one day and it's like my third divorce, and you're like, uh-oh.
Or the women who are like, I can have and do it all, so I'm going to have this successful career and I'm going to be the super mom that bakes cookies for every, whatever, and is on the board of all these different things. And then you're just like burnt out because you're trying so hard to be super mom and super worker and all these things.
To be perfect in all those avenues.
Yeah, but it's like, let's take a look, maybe if there was some sort of chart or graph to see how balanced that person's life is.
Yes.
Whether we look at it in terms of a circle, or if we look at it in terms of like a graph. I'm sure there are a lot of things that have to be thrown so far out of balance to make that possible, and that's not sustaining.
No, it's not sustaining.
You can't do that long term without like killing parts of yourself or letting parts of yourself die.
Oh, right. And some of us end up alone in a hotel room somewhere thinking like, what am I doing here? Like, I have no friends, or I have a few friends, but how is this sustaining for me?
Right.
And what are the next 10 years going to be like?
Right. I don't know. It's complicated. I feel like to honor our. I feel like it's complicated to honor our spiritual journeys with our relationships, but also live in a capitalistic society.
Yes, very good point.
I think
they seem almost counterintuitive or like opposing, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't really fit together.
Well, we don't place a lot of value on, just being who we are where we're at. Like there's always this drive to be better, to grow, to have more. Right. Bigger. Everything here is bigger. More cars, bigger cars, like bigger house,
bigger business,
bigger everything.
Yeah.
And part of that kills your soul. I mean, some people love it and thrive off of that, and they can be lit up. But for so many people, they have to neglect parts of themselves in order to make that happen. And you see that. You see people walking around, and you can just feel them. You can just feel their energy, like just dull.
Oh yeah.
Or they seem so tired or stressed out, and it's like, is it worth it?
Oh yeah.
Is that worth it?
Oh yeah. I see some of those people, and they just look so tired. And I'm like, but you don't look happy.
Yeah.
You're like, are you happy doing this? And again, you got to go back to that balance factor. Like what if you looked at your life and you put it in the shape of a circle, and you made pie wedges out of things like job, relationship, spirituality, emotional health, finances, and you started to cut those pieces up. I think it's a great exercise for all of us to do, and start seeing where the majority of your pie is.
Yeah.
And if you're happy with that, because some of us may be like, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm totally like my as a mother right now, whatever, my pie's real big right there in family, let's say. But some of us, maybe we have families, and we're like, my pie's too big there because I've neglected my.
Oh, look how tiny self-care is.
Self-care.
Tiny, my relationship with my partner is.
Yes.
Things like that. And I think B, you're right. This is just like a really good exercise for us to try, and maybe just becoming aware of, whoa, I did not realize that I've totally neglected this thing. Or where are your hobbies? How much time are you giving to your hobbies?
Yes.
I have literally 5% of my energy and my time going into the things that I love to do or that I used to do. It's just something good to notice, I think.
And that's kind of another cool exercise to do, is do let's do yourself 5 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah. And not that we want to be who we were 5 years ago, but it probably is interesting to just look and see the change.
Let's just see how it's changed.
Have things been forgotten? Have things been improved upon?
Exactly.
Are you finding a better balance? Like, oh, shoot, I'm neglecting this part of me. I think that's a really cool exercise.
And you can even be like, I miss that part.
Yeah.
Like, I used to do that all the time.
Yes.
And of course, you brought up a good point before, is usually then you have to take something away from another part to make another part bigger.
Right.
And you have to that's the thing you have to ask yourself, am I willing to do that? Am I willing to shrink my job part to grow my hobby part? Or just a little bit, right? Because you do have to have equilibrium. You only have so much time in your day and your life.
Right.
And you have to be, that's the beauty of being aware of that.
And I think you've got to let the ego go a little bit, because so much of that is like, I don't want to let go of that responsibility or that role or that title that I hold.
Yes.
You know, so you've got to ask yourself, is this my ego, or is this actually like, do I love this, or is this my ego clinging to it for a sense of value or identity?
Yes, very, very good point. Because the ego is big, and it can be quite loud. It's a loud voice in us.
And again, I think we need to be gentle with ourselves, because we live in a society that thrives off of the ego being in the driver's seat. That's just it. No matter how hard we try, we still have to realize that our environment is much more geared towards these ego-driven things.
Yes, somehow this particular culture that we live in here in America, it's very, very. I was just thinking about Hawaiian culture in Hawaii. Sometimes
it's different.
It's so different, and we just met with my daughter's the officiant for her wedding, and he's a great guy, so totally awesome Hawaiian guy, but I'm always like, well, can we set up a time to meet, when we go to Hawaii? And he was like, sure, just come by whenever. And I'm like, whenever? Like, do you have a time, or, But he operates on a different time scale.
Yeah.
And then we went into his office. It's all beautifully like lauhala mats and beautiful tapa, all Hawaiian decorations and stuff. And we sit down, and then he just starts chatting, like telling us stories. And I'm like, when do we talk about the wedding part?
Yeah.
But eventually all those stories tied into the wedding part was beautifully linked together. But, I'm so like into like, we need to be efficient and we've got 10 minutes.
Yeah. Get it done.
Get it done. But he slowed us all down because Hawaii's all about, just being in the moment, being present in this place, this moment, and this time. And then I looked over at my daughter's future mother-in-law, and she's this high-powered attorney, like worse than me, just very, very good, very driven, accomplished. And I look over at her as the officiant's talking, as Danny is talking, and she's got tears just running down her cheeks. And I realized, like, we're all slowed down for a sec. And suddenly we were just boom, like he brought us like boom. Here we are.
Yeah.
This is the moment.
Yeah.
And then realizing I'm out of balance that way too, in terms of like time.
Yeah.
Don't always be so like click, 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 click. It's like deep breath. Slow down.
I agree with that. However, I will say that sometimes I like to go really, really fast so that I can then just have leisure time, because I'm the type of person, when I have a lot of things to do, they're on my mind.
My mind. I whispered it. My mind.
And so it's like, once I can just be like, you know what? I'm done with that for the day. I've finished that.
Yes.
Then I can be like, now I'm going to switch into this mode. And so I agree with you. I agree with you 100%
like
what you're saying.
We could be in that culture all the time.
Yes. However, for me,
but we're not.
I really like to ration out my time and say, you know what? I want to be done with work for the day by this time, and so I'm just gonna hurry, and I'm gonna just be really efficient. I'm gonna put my head down and do it, so that when it's my time to pick my kids up from school, then I'm like, I'm on your time.
Yeah, we
are together now, and I don't have all these lingering things in the back of my mind. Now, my husband, forever, he can have an ongoing list of 4,000 things he needs to get done, but it doesn't distract him from his family time or from his leisure time or whatever he's doing. It doesn't stress him out the way that it stresses me out. So that, again, is it's a good reminder to check in and think, does this ongoing, do you need to kind of portion out your time into how you're going to spend it? And once that time is up, just say, I'm done now. I'm done now.
Yeah.
Or can you be like, yeah, I like to just go with the flow, and it's okay if I have all these things still I have to do. I'm not going to let them stress me out while I'm having a nice dinner with my friends or whatever it may be. So I think, again, that's only something that we as individuals can decide how to handle.
And to know what our propensity is. You know, what we tend to do, what our way of being in the world is.
Totally. And I always get shit for going fast. Everyone calls me the racehorse. It's like a joke.
Yes.
But I enjoy myself better when I have finished my tasks so that I can relax.
Yes.
That's my personality type.
Right.
And I know that about me. And so it's what works best for me.
Right. You're not surprised by that.
No, I'm not surprised by it at all. So yeah, just kind of honoring what you need to do to allow yourself to give the time that those pieces of your pie require in order for you to have a balanced and happy, quote unquote, happy life. But I do think, but also meaningful, and fulfilling, and that doesn't always feel happy all the time.
Doesn't always feel happy. That's true.
So I'm careful with the point of life being happiness.
But hopefully you're experiencing some type of joy off and on.
Yeah, absolutely. When I went to school for international business, and one of my favorite professors, he was like, listen, you guys, the world does business very differently than Americans do. He said, with most countries, you don't even start talking business until you have brought gifts for all the children, until you've asked about every single person in the family. You could have an entire meeting and not even talk business because you're building that relationship. He said it's very different than doing business with other Americans. We're just to the point about everything. And I just remember vividly him saying that, just the importance of relationships being so strong with business people from other countries, and just relationship,
That's
relationship.
So interesting. I never even thought of that.
In a business dynamic is so much more valued in most other countries.
How interesting. And so even thinking of the pie then in terms of working with different cultures or different countries, like realizing maybe where their focus is, where their values are, more than just coming in with our own agendas and this is how we work in this country.
Totally.
Do you
guys want to hear something funny though?
Yes, please.
He said, because he helped set up the Hilton in Russia. So he brought like the first Hilton hotel to Moscow,
Russia.
And he said that there was a meeting that started at like 9 a.m. and they couldn't even talk business until the two of them finished an entire bottle of vodka together.
Whoa!
Starting at 9 in the morning. He was just like, I just thought it was so funny that of course it was the Russians. We will drink a bottle of vodka.
And then we will talk.
Business.
Yeah, and we'll see if you can handle it too.
I know, I thought that was hilarious.
That is great.
I know. But I think again, we have to be forgiving and gentle with ourselves when we think about the culture that we live in. And so we can have all of these, all these ways that we want to be and live, but we have to understand that sometimes it feels hard, not because of anything we're doing wrong, but just because of the way that this culture is set up.
That's so true. And to be aware of how we talk to ourselves. We've talked about this before, but in terms of like if we're out of balance or if we're not doing something correctly in our own minds or, to offer ourselves always grace. Because I do what you do, Kaylee, is I push and push and push in the day. And then I'm like, but I have this weird thing of like, you do not deserve to have a break yet.
Oh, interesting.
You have not made every bed. You have not picked up the pillows. You have not finished your emails for work. And there's this weird sort of mean parenting voice in there.
Oh, interesting.
And she's like, so then I'm like, it's 5:00 and I've tried to do a lot of it.
Yeah.
I've tried really hard today. And she's like, not yet.
Oh, interesting.
You don't deserve it yet. Yeah. And I'm like, who is that?
Who is that?
Hello?
Yeah.
Calm down, lady.
Be quiet, grouchy lady.
Be quiet, grouchy lady. Like, who put you in charge?
Right.
And it's like, and that is part of my imbalance too, because she's a pusher.
Right.
She push. And it's like, I need to turn her volume down just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it might be because I grew up in Hawaii. I don't know, but there's that kind of like, we're all like, woo, whatever. And everyone's like, oh, Bernice, you're so easygoing when I was growing up. And I wanted to switch that. Like, I was like, I didn't want people to think of me that way anymore.
Interesting.
So I think I created this, like, a bit of a monster.
Oh, interesting.
But she pushes me out of balance, too. And I need to tell her to, like, you need to be quiet for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she'll bring up all the bad stuff, like you didn't do mind body, whatever it is a program we do. But it's the weird, like she latches on to dumb stuff. And then and then she doesn't let me just appreciate the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
She pushes for the imbalance.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, it's important to recognize where these imbalances come from.
Yes.
And then, okay, well, is there anything I can do about this? Is it do I just need to observe it? Or can I make a change? Is there anything that needs shifting slightly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, it's good.
Speaking of balance, I'm like, I do it with my children now.
Me too. I left mine home alone with a friend's kid. The mom doesn't know.
I should be at the pool in 1 minute. So I'm late. Things are out of balance.
We're out of balance. We love you guys.
Yeah, keep being nice to yourself too.
Yes, and please send comments. We do love those comments. It's just always eye-opening for both of us.
It is.
Really.
Oh my gosh, it is. Yes. Okay, love you guys. Have a great week.
Bye.